Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for the very first time of 2023 on Survivor USA, the franchise that started it all. I'm very excited because I get to talk Survivor with a man that I have not been able to talk to in a minute because he's too busy studying at the moment. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to get a break from, like you said, my studies and get back into Survivor because it's been too long.
Yeah, like Jake has not watched Kahuna any Australian Survivor to date.
Yeah.
And he is a fan that watches all of the franchises, but it's just been too busy. And I said to him, like, I'm not overselling it to you. Probably the best pre-merge that we've had in years when it comes to Survivor. Would you say, Kahuna, that he needs to get into it whenever he gets like a spare half an hour to spare here and there?
It's one of those things where, like, I'm obviously incredibly pleased to be a part of the process while it's happening live, but I'm also slightly jealous that Jake has this season of Australian Survivor ahead of him to watch, and you can just binge it back to back and watch it go all the way through. So yeah, Jake, you're missing out, mate, but going forward, you've got that all ahead of you, and it's going to be a good time, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
just
that is.
Stay off social media because this season it is just popping off on Instagram, Twitter. There's so much talk happening about it. So just try and have like blinkers on.
Yeah, luckily on Reddit, you know, they spoiler tag it. So I just don't click on anything if I see that, you know, because I know that since there's no US Survivor going on, I know it's Australian. Yeah, I remember because when I first got into the show, there was no season that was currently airing, so I got to binge all of them, and I kind of missed that. You know, I did like watching week to week, but binging is also fun. So I'm
not fun. Not fun when you're podcasting about it. Like I much prefer. I'm so grateful for Survivor US coming back, being one episode a week. Like it's so much easier to digest, put content out. You know, because you would have seen it, like, you know, I've been popping out top 5 takes almost every episode, then doing the recap. So it's about 4 or 5 videos a week currently.
It's a lot. The only problem with the binge is that you've got 45 hours ahead of you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you need like a couple of weekends just set aside for that. And Jake will be single if he did that. So he'd be in a lot of trouble if he was just to binge.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say hello to a few people here in the live. Zoe left us a message very early on with a crying face saying it's 4 a.m. I guess I'm stuck on the replay crew for now. Zoe, when you listen to this later on, we so wish you were here. Hopefully in the future we do get you on a live. We understand being from South Africa. GJ Mac back in the live here as well saying Chris. And this is so cool. I agree. It's actually so cool because we just realized when we came live that we are fully representing all 3 franchises on this podcast. So you've got me from South Africa, you've got Jake, obviously the OG USA fan, and you've got Kahuna from Australia. So we're representing all 3 franchises on the podcast, which I think is very unique. I don't know if
we did it before the show. We did the global challenge before Survivor actually did it themselves. We're pioneers, trailblazing.
We're pioneers. I don't know if anybody else has ever done this.
We're
to be honest,
game changers for sure.
Christian Gell, it's been a minute. Welcome back to the channel. And Jay also, and the Hovister saying Chris and the gang back at it again. And Leah, also welcome to the live stream here as well. Now, we've got quite a bit to talk about because there is a new season upon us, and it's going to be none other than Survivor 44. And here's a cast photo of everybody that's going to be on this cast. Very, very difficult draft, I think, to do this time around because I had a look at all of these people, and I've got to say, no one specifically stands out to me where I can be like, they're just going to fail. Like it almost feels like, Jake, there's some double gangers in some of these tribes. There's like, oh, this person and this person is interchangeable because they're kind of the same, to be honest. So I think it's going to make it interesting for us in regards to how we're going to pick. Do you have a strategy coming in, Jake? You're the defending champion.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go back to the strategy that I used the past 2 seasons, and that is wing it.
Yeah, it's worked for you so far.
I look at the cast profiles, the bios a little bit before coming in, and then just as it's going on, just feel getting a good vibe from that one. You know, just go with that.
Well, we're going to start it off first here with the Wheel of Names. I think it's going to be the easiest way to do it, specifically because we've now got a new challenger in Kahuna here as well. What we're going to do is we're going to spin here to see who gets to select the order of the draft, and it's going to be a classic snake draft. So whoever wins this will say, let's say I win. I say I want to go first. Jake is second, and Kahuna is third. And then we're going to do another spin after that to decide who's going to choose. It's going to be male or female first, or if it's just going to be like last season, Jake, where it doesn't matter. You can choose any. We're going to do 2 spins here. So first spin, I think we'll do both spins, so whoever chooses the order has the ability to know who's choosing second as well. All right, let's have a look. Oops, Jake Kahuna. We're going to again.
Hey.
I think that was supposed to be. Maybe that was
Jake.
supposed to be Jake.
Huh?
Yeah, it looks like there's a few of those.
Let's just do another spin here. Oh, is there a few of those? Oh, you're right.
We just split the points.
Oh, we do have actually a name this time. All right, so Jake, you're going to choose the order.
Rigged. It's a rigged system.
What we'll do is we'll do another spin here, and that person will choose. You might have all the power here. That person will choose if what the order of the draft's going to be, and if it's male or female or okay, yeah. So it's going to be me for this one. So Jake, you choose the order.
Okay.
I'm going to choose if it's male or female when we do the snake draft, or if it's just whatever. And you go ahead first, and you choose what order do you want to put us in for this draft.
I'll do. Chris, you can go first.
Oh wow!
Kahuna, you can go second, and I
get the middle
will
pick.
go third, so I can get 2 in a row.
All right. Well, I'm going
time.
to choose. I think for this specific draft, what we'll do, camera focus. What we'll do in this specific draft, we will go male first. So I'll have the first male pick. Kahuna will have the second. Jake, you'll have the third, and then Kahuna, you'll also have the first female pick. Jake will have the second again, and I'll have the third female pick. So that's how we're going to go up and down in this draft. Let me quickly share my screen.
So what is the philosophy you approach a game like this with?
Jake, what's your philosophy, mate? You're the champion. You're the one.
He said he's winging it. He's winging it.
I'm winging it, but I got to look at. Because I guess Chris, are you going to go into like what modifications you made to the point system?
Yep. Let me just pull up the points. That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah, but I will say, I think it was. I mean, I picked Gabler last season, and obviously that
it wasn't your first. It wasn't
totally,
your first pick. It wasn't even your first pick.
No,
that was
no,
mid.
He was like my 5th. Totally picked him for his ability to win. By the way, it wasn't just because I thought he was going to be a goofball. That was sarcasm, if you couldn't tell. I did not have much faith, so I picked. I was like looking at who's going to be like the characters, and because that actually mattered quite a bit.
It's going to matter again. Yeah. So here's the points. So the criteria for this season is going to be 1 point for each confessional that these characters get, 5 points for a team challenge win. Individual immunity wins will give you 8 points. Making the merge will give you 5 points. A successful advantage play will give you 10 points. Finding an advantage will give you 5 points. Votes against you would be -1 for each vote against you. The runner-up gets 25 points for the season, and the winner gets 50 points. There's also some bonus point categories. So most confessionals, most individual immunity wins, most advantages found, least votes casted against them for the season, and most advantages played correctly for the season all get 25 bonus points. So this makes it, Kahuna, very difficult to predict where the season's going to go, because there literally is so many different ways you can get points.
Look, I got to tell you guys, coming into a draft with defending champion and someone as highly esteemed as yourself, Chris, for my first one, I'm feeling like a rookie in a season of veterans, and I'm going to be running into some real trouble here, because I looked at this, right, and I'm the type that I'm a bit of a nerd where I will examine things, and I'm got so frustrated that there's no data, there's nothing to look at. All I've got is I watched the bios about 1,000 times, and like, oh, a management consultant, like. I don't know, man. I don't know what to base it off of.
Yeah.
It's this guy, it's tough. And I've watched every season of Survivor bar 2. Can you guess which 2 it might be? 42 and 43.
Oh, really? Yeah, is that the only 2 seasons you haven't watched?
So I watched Winners at War, I watched 41, and then I kind of got very busy. And all I've been hearing is while I try to catch up on how to look at a cast, is this new era of Survivor, and people like saying that they're comparing themselves to these players that I
Players you don't
haven't
know.
heard of, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm walking into a freaking hornet's nest here against these two. But it's going to be fun, and I think when I look at it, there's a lot of high variance. I said this
Yep.
to you, Chris, via chat. I'm either going to go well or go bad, and I don't know if there's a lot of in between, but we're going to find out. And
Listen,
I don't know if you noticed this, Chris. I've
Yeah.
got my hidden immunity idol necklace. Does anyone know
There
what
we go.
season this is from?
I feel like I need to make it bigger so I can see. That looks like Thailand.
Well, the thing is, I don't actually have any, and this is just a replica from the movie Goonies from 1985. But
Alright.
I thought it looked pretty good, so I thought I'd wear it. There's my fake idol.
It's not going to help you in this game.
I already
It's
got
not.
2 of you with a fake idol, so
It's
Yeah,
not going to help you in
did
this
get
game.
me. It honestly does look like one.
All right, let's have a look at a few more of the comments here before I choose my first pick. We've got Hobbister saying whoever gets Kane wins the draft for sure. I like Kane,
oh,
but let's see what
where have I
happens.
got him on my list? Oh no.
I think the men on the season are going to overthink this season, and I hope the season is good. I actually have a different opinion. Like in the previous 2 seasons I came in, Jake, I felt more confident about the women. This time I feel a hell of a lot more confident about the men. I think the men this season are going to do really well. There's a few women where I don't kind of know where to place them. They're all like equal to me. So that's why I chose to go men first, having the power to choose if we're going to go men or women, or if it's going to be any way we're going to go in the draft. But we're going to do men, then women for this specific one. So without further ado, I'm going to pick the first person. I'm so glad I get to pick this person because this was the person, right, coming into this thing. They're either going to flame out really quickly, they're going to be too much for people, or they're going to go all the way and do a Marianne, and that's going to be Yam Yam. I'm taking Yam Yam off the table right from the start. Absolutely love this guy's vibe. He's a salon owner, so obviously knows to talk to people because salon owners are like basically bartenders where people come in there and they tell them their stories and things that's going wrong at work, being pissed off at their spouse. They have to be like a bit of it's almost like a psychiatrist, when they talk to these people. And I like his energy. A lot of things stood out for me when I looked at him, and I thought, this guy, either he's not going to get along with everybody very well, but I don't think that's a problem for him because I feel like English isn't his first language. It's maybe his second language, which is another thing that I have in common with him. So, or people are just going to absolutely love his energy. Plus, that purple tribe looks stacked to me, to be honest. So that's why I'm taking Yam Yam from the start. Kahuna, thoughts?
I love Yam Yam or Jam Jam. I think is it Jam Jam?
I think it's Yam Yam.
Okay, I love him. I think he's a superstar. For those who are familiar with Survivor Australia, he's got that big personality. He's going to be, and I just have that in my mind. My frame of reference might be skewed because I know I'm just used to the edit of these big personalities that will be stars, but maybe not in the game. I think he could be a physical liability, perhaps, and that might not do. And I think, when I watched the trailer, he was the last thing. He was like the star at the end. He said he's going to take a poop in the ocean, and it's brilliant, right? I love that so much, and I do think I'm going to love him. But you're right. He's either going to go very far or go very early, and I think one of his biggest issues might be in a 6-person tribe. If there's rain, and like on Survivor, we see they get stuck under the shelter for like long periods of time. His big personality could come back to bite him in a situation where you can't get away from him.
I missed out on Gabler last season. I'm not missing out on another big personality. We've had 2 big personalities win in a row, and this is where you're at a disadvantage, Kuna. But the last 2 winners have both been, and somebody's telling me it's pronounced Jam Jam. So it's both. Yeah, so both last 2 winners have been big personalities. So I had him
high. I wanted him on my team, and I did have him high because I love him. I didn't know if I was going to go number 1 pick, but I did want him. So good pick, man. Good pick.
Yeah, Jake. So also he's a big Sari Fields fan. We love that, right? Because Sari Field, she's top tier in my mind.
Of course, yeah. I don't really think he's gonna play much like Sari.
No,
but he might be as lovable as Sari for sure. It's a great pick. I agree. I don't think, kind of like Kahuna, I don't think it would have been my first, but definitely was at the top.
You guys are going to eat your words, guys. In the live, clip this. when Jam Jam takes it out and he wins this season, both of them are going to eat their words. But we're going to go over to Kahuna. Kahuna, you've got the second pick here for the season. First male pick for you. Where's your heart taking you? Where are you sort of gravitating towards?
It's really tough. I don't want to give away because I'm, deciding between a couple, and I don't know if they're going to be up high or if I'm wasting a pick. I've got my big board.
If you want to share if you want to share that knowledge with us, like we wouldn't say no.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Sharing is caring.
Again, I don't know if this is a high variance pick, either early or late, because he's so young. But Harry Potter himself, I'm going to pick Carson Garrett with the number 2 overall pick. And this is my thought process. I don't like 20 because he doesn't have the maturity for relationships and building and that sort of thing. But he's very smart, obviously being a literal rocket scientist. And he's got that thing where I think maybe he's trying to do a Clark Kent. He's like, look at my glasses. But then we see in the trailer, he's got that secret buff thing going on where like he took off the glasses and he's got his no shirt. I'm like, hey, that's not the dude that was standing there with the pre photo shoot kind of thing. But I think he could go far. And the thing that I found out in my nerdy looking for research is that he now has a website with merch before the season's even started. And to me, that either says one of two things. He's 20, and that's just what 20-year-olds do when they get on a TV show. Or he's going pretty far, because I don't know if you go to that extent when you're just there for an early boot and you come up with your own website and your own merch and all that sort of thing. That's a bit of outside the game knowledge. I don't know if I'm like using that to my advantage, but I thought that was weird, and I'm going to use it.
Yeah. Listen, you absolutely broke Jake's heart, because Jake was 100% picking him first, right, Jake?
No.
You would.
Oh,
he's like, literally, listen, I did a cast reaction video that I'm going to release this week.
And you think he's me?
I think he's you. I was like, this is Jake. This is 100% Jake. He studies engineering like Jake. He's a big fan.
Okay, listen. I wasn't going to pick him, no joke, because of exactly what Kahuna just said. Because I found out about his merch website and was like,
"Oh no!"
I was like, what?
He needs the money. He needs the money.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he didn't make it too far, so he's trying to cash in on his 7 seconds of fame.
Could be.
He didn't get $1 million, that's for sure. Is what you're saying.
So
he gave me a little bit. You know what? He was my second pick for the season, but I did write down in brackets. I'm like, oh no, is he Owen Knight for this season? Because he's all over the shop. He's all over social, sort of promoting this season. And Owen was the same. And Owen caught me last season. I was like, why is he so confident? Why is he pushing this thing? Owen's going to do really well. And obviously he didn't do bad. He went to the final, but he was just a non-entity. He was a non-entity for most of that season. So, but I do feel good on this guy though. He's a little bit of an undercover potential threat in the sense that you look at him and he looks nerdy. He looks like he's jacked when he takes his shirt off.
5'5" though. He's tiny.
He's tiny, but he's jacked. And if you look at some of the players that do extremely well, they're not always the biggest guys. A lot of these challenges, you've got to be in between. If you're like a Jonathan, which you wouldn't know who he is from a couple of seasons ago, you're not good at keeping your balance or, Jonathan doing those endurance. No. So a different Jonathan, big beast guy. But anyway, so you're not good in the stuff where, I feel like he could potentially do well at the physical stuff, but have good body to weight ratio in the endurance stuff, which becomes a big part of the game after the merge. So I feel high on him.
He's got good threat management too, I reckon, if he can project that nerdy vibe without giving off the physical buffness.
Jerome reckons you picked a pre-merge boot.
Oh, freaking Jerome. We got beef now, Jerome. Oh man, I said this is my reason, and Jake goes, "That's the absolute opposite reason why I'm not." I'm like, excellent. Good start.
Listen, he does he's a young engineering kid. I believe he's the same age as me. He's in aerospace engineering. I'm in electrical. Electrical's better, but listen, engineer beef already right out the gate. No, but like, I go to school. I see the other kids that are in my classes. I don't know if many of them are cut out for the game.
You
They're
look
they're a
them up
bit,
and down and just
yeah.
nah, you haven't got it.
Listen, they're a little bit antisocial. They're a bit different, which is fine. But and we'll see that again with somebody else on this season that is also a
I
type
know
of
exactly who
engineer.
you're talking.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking. Yeah.
yeah, and so.
But it's funny because you really liked Zach a couple of seasons ago. Did Zach is that another reason in the back of your head you're like, oh, I picked Zach, I can't pick Carson for this season?
Well,
Are you
that's
scarred?
I think no. Listen, because Zach was he was in he did like what was it, comedy clubs and stuff. So he had to be social. He seemed very outgoing, but Carson is very very accomplished. Like getting an internship at NASA, that doesn't
Yeah,
just
it's
happen
insane.
that's crazy.
Mm.
He's insanely smart. But this is a social game. I don't doubt that he could make some smart strategic moves, but it's the social that really gets me.
Yeah. Well, Jake, you've got the floor. I'm mindful that
point.
we've still got quite a lot of people to go through here. It's going to be interesting to see how Kahuna's first pick for the season. Maybe I missed the booby trap there. Sometimes I feel like these drafts can be like Minesweeper, and you just miss booby traps because you're kind of talking me down on him a little bit, Jake.
Yeah, me
Going
too.
into the first male pick
Sorry.
for you, where are you looking? Who's your number one male pick for the season?
I'm not too high on the guys this season, actually, Chris. I'm not.
We're not aligned. Like for once, we're not seeing.
We are
the same
usually
way.
like we're usually right on the same page, but
Yeah.
this time I don't know because okay, listen. Actually, no, I don't want to expose too much of my
Strategy.
thought process. You know what? Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Matthew, not Matt. Matthew. He's the guy on the bottom with the beard.
Oh yeah. Also, sort of barber owner could potentially.
Yeah.
It's funny, both the barber and salon owner getting picked here in the first round.
When you look at their cast photos from here, they kind of look pretty similar, even though the beard
and the vibe as well. That's why I said before we
Yeah.
went live, I said I feel like each tribe has got a doppelganger this season.
Yeah.
Like they're choosing people that are like exactly the same.
Yeah,
He's a good pick. I was going to pick him next if he was.
Where was
still
he
available.
on my ranks? While I'm just having a look here. It was my third pick. So all top three picks have been picked.
wow.
Yeah,
Well,
insane. So we are in sync.
so we are, but a little bit off.
Why is he so high for you guys?
Well, see, I just like his vibe. Kind of similar to what you were saying about, I guess it's Jam Jam.
Same stuff. Being a salon owner,
Yeah,
or barbershop.
he's got to be social, and I just like his, just as a person, reading his bio, he's talking, he's gay. He kind of struggled with, coming out of his shell, figuring out who he was. I just like people like that. So I think he could get, some pretty good airtime, and kind of like he's saying, he looks like pretty physically capable as well.
100%. Isn't he the guy in the preview though that injures himself when he climbs up the rock? That's like my scary thing.
Yeah,
that's why I was picking him.
Because I heard this is the only rumor I've heard. I don't know anything outside of that, but I think it's a very well known rumor, and if it's true or not, I don't know. I heard someone gets medevac this season, so hopefully they didn't spoil it.
Thanks for telling me after I picked
obviously,
him, Chris.
No, listen, I was still gonna pick him. I was still gonna pick him third.
Yeah,
because I just think that they wouldn't make it that obvious. Surely, right? They wouldn't make it that obvious.
That's true.
If you pause the trailer, you can see it probably wasn't him.
Oh, okay. So I didn't pause the trailer. So Kahuna's coming in with a strategy.
I don't know if it's a medevac,
so
but there was definitely
another...
showing an injury in a layout, whether it was him or another. But Matthew, for me, and why I thought he was going to go high, you mentioned the thing falling off the cliff, which is ridiculous. But it took a minute of like the 2-minute trailer. It was the Matthew show for like so long. And why I thought, man, the entire thing started with Matthew climbing these rocks, talking about his life and his kids and his husband, and then the big fall. he gets that story to start, and then to end the trailer was Jam Jam. So I was like,
Yeah.
I got to get these two somewhere in my team, and both of you have grabbed them. So.
And you got
Yeah.
neither.
Listen, he was going to be in my top 3 regardless, because he shouted out my man Ben Driebergen. So when you shout out Ben Driebergen as a player that you want to play like, I'm all in. I'm with you. Ben needs a bit more love in the Survivor community. Jake, who's your first female pick for the season? This is where we get into the meat and potatoes now, because you mentioned that the females are the ones that you feel strong about.
Yeah. I would say I feel more confident about them. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Claire. She's the fourth one there. No, yeah,
one?
her. Yep.
Oh man.
Yep.
Am I just taking all of your people?
Yeah. I like Claire. Good pick, man.
Yeah, I like her personality. She seems pretty strong-willed, like female power type person, which I like. I think we're kind of due for like a more like dominant female winner, because the past 2 female winners we've had, they were good, but they weren't like strategic, powerhouses,
Masterminds, no.
So that's part of the reason that's, I'm just more hopeful, I guess, for that. But also I like her, she's just she kind of checks all the boxes. She seems fit. She seems like she's got a good personality, seems outgoing, but also she's kind of nerdy. So I feel like she could like kind of relate to, everyone on the cast. I think she'll do good. Checks all the boxes.
Yeah. So I'm a bit lower on her than you guys. I had her at number 7 on my picks.
Ooh.
And the reason that, she stood out to me a little bit is that she mentions that she's always been an outcast in every single situation that she's been in. And I'm a little bit worried that in that case, in a game like Survivor, if you become that outcast very early on because you feel like you can't connect with people or you're struggling to make that connection, you've got that chip on your shoulder coming into the game, it could really give off a certain type of energy that maybe is standoffish to other people out on the island. So I'm a little bit worried for her. Obviously she's got a mix of a lot of things going on, being Jewish, being a Jewish queer girl, because obviously growing up in that community, Jewish people in general are very religious. Couldn't have been an easy upbringing for her. And I understand that that's something that would have made her a bit of an outcast, but I'm really worried that if she doesn't find her people, Kahuna, and she goes into that pattern that she's had her whole life, that she could struggle. Leah said that she's pretty, and I do agree. She's definitely one of my crushes for this season. But there's I've got one major crush this season that I will tell you guys when I get to her. I don't know if I'll pick her first because I don't know if she'll win, but she's a definite crush of mine, I think, for this season. And she's
there's no
definitely
rogue on this season, Chris. There's no rogue here.
Hey, listen, there's no mucky on this podcast. We don't need to go there.
I like Claire. I did have a high because, again, like, what are you basing it off? I don't know. It's just quick first impressions. But the thing that really got me and I thought was very strange is that she's a 25-year-old venture capitalist, right? How does a 25-year-old have the money to provide other people money for their projects and their things?
That's every single social media influencer these days. You just it's like somebody creating an Instagram profile and saying that they're an Instagram model. Well, I play Call of Duty, so I'm a soldier in Call of Duty. Like, everybody can be anything they want these days. Let's be honest.
Well, I thought it was she's either prodigious and like some young amazing person, or she's probably got a lot of money from her parents. I don't know which one it goes, and either
I don't know how much
truth
is in this. I don't want to blow up her spot, but
I don't know either. But a venture capitalist at 25 is crazy. Like, you usually only be a venture capitalist after you've sold your first company, so you have the money to then seed into other ones. But I thought I do like her. Like, I had her quite high, and I'm sad that she's not on the board anymore. Good pick again.
Yeah, Mary here says to pick female winners, you have to choose the least assertive, calm demeanor cheerleader type. I think that's a conversation, Mary, that a lot of people are not ready to hear, or that they dislike the reality of it. But a lot of female winners in general have been like that. But then you also have the boss girls that come out and dominate. They're just few and far between. Those are your Parvatis, your Kim Spradlins. Like, Sandra she had a bit of a bite to her, but I do feel like she wasn't as assertive sometimes, and she was in her winning games. She was happy to be anybody but her. So I think that's a very interesting comment that you've made, to be honest. But yeah, overall, again, I don't know. I didn't see her as high. I think there's a few other picks on the table here that potentially could do better, but none of us know any better. Kahuna, where are you going for this next female pick?
I'm the opposite. I'm like you, Chris. I don't know how to pick with the women, to be honest with you. I think, again, each of them could be so high variance, and there's a couple that I was tossing up. And I don't... You took Jam Jam as your first pick, and to me, there's a female Jam Jam that I think has been huge. And I don't know if she's going to go the very first episode or sit on Tribal.
Could be a rogue.
Oh, man. But
I don't know. I'm just
talking, of course, about Carolyn, and because I've already mentioned, I can't now just think it out loud and put her back, because that might know you're all going to know where I'm at. But
are you taking her?
I'm taking her. She seems like she picked up a rock and rubbed her face with it, like an actual rock. And when you have someone like that, I think they're going to give her a lot of screen time. And the fact that, to me, when I watched the trailer, there was like 3 or 4 people that got all the shine. And I thought America doesn't do that like Australia does. They'll just give you 3 and ignore everyone. She's going to be on everything. She's going to be all over it. I heard that
she'll give you confessional points.
Yeah, I heard that she plays orgs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
I've heard that as well.
She's the other one with the merch website. So I don't know.
She's a merch website too?
She's got a merch website. So I don't know if my logic is flawed here, but I'm hoping that plays. I could crash and burn. But being a drug counselor as well, she seems like a crazy loud personality. But if you're in that industry, and unlike a lot of these other jobs where they tend to talk up their titles a lot, I think if you're just a drug counselor, you need to be able to get people to trust you and share vulnerabilities and really like hard things. And it might go against what they're showing us in the trailer, but if that is her literal profession and she's doing it for a long time, then there's going to be some social skills that we're not seeing. She could either really annoy people, or probably do both, really annoy them, but also be able to drag information out of them and really build trust and relationships. I'm hoping that's where I'm leaning. I could be completely wrong with that one. But Carolyn.
Okay. You guys are going in a completely different direction than what I thought with the women, which is good. It's good that we're seeing slightly different at this stage. I think Carolyn potentially could be a big character. I don't think again, she could be. I didn't think Marianne was winning her first season when she played, because she was, and I think that in a lot of seasons, and I think people are not ready to hear this, Marianne doesn't have a chance because she goes into a different tribe where people get annoyed with her very quickly and they don't have her back and they vote her out very quickly. But she was lucky enough that she got into a tribe where people were very tolerant of her energy and what she brought to the table. I think Carolyn could very easily fall into a tribe that really gets annoyed with that high energy that she's got. And they could very easily vote her out early on. But I do think you'll get a lot of confessional points early on. I do think she's got a lot of grit to her. The fact that she is now a drug counselor, has struggled with addiction, all that stuff is very motivational. And she wants to show people that you can clean your act up and come into the game and, be a role model. I did find it interesting that she needed permission from her kid to go and play the game. Like, it was almost like she needed someone to tell her, go and do it, like to give her that assurance. So I don't know if that's something that she needs quite a lot, like positive information when she's out there. She's not going to get it, I don't think, in Survivor if she's out there, because people are going to try and take her out. But yeah, it's an interesting one for me. She was number 8 on my rankings, Jake.
Oh my God, I'm so screwed. Number 8.
No, listen.
I didn't know that she was an org player.
Kahuna, you gotta remember, Kahuna, that Chris has lost the past 2. So
hey, the last one.
Hey, I'll never forget, because you're always there to remind us, isn't it, Jake?
Yeah, I'll be the check-in. I'll check in on Chris, make sure he remembers. No, but
Jake's recollection is as credible as Claire saying that she is a venture capitalist to me. Like same level of credibility there.
You think she's inflating what she actually does for the show?
I don't know. Like, listen, I don't want to blow up her spot, but I mean, anybody can create I don't know, like an account and start investing these days and call themselves an investor, right?
Right.
I'm an
Yeah, that's
investor
true.
as well. If I wanted to say I do that stuff as well, I mean, do I do it with hundreds of
You're an
millions of dollars? No,
entrepreneur.
a couple of $1,000s here, a couple of $1,000s there, you know, but you can inflate it. So I don't know. And I don't
GameStop,
want to,
baby.
like,
Get that
maybe she
GameStop.
is.
Also, I think we're seeing a pattern as somebody pointed out in the chat. Kahuna's picking everybody that has merch available.
So far,
So
I
we
mean,
can-
I'm
He wants
super
free
too,
merch. He's trying to
but
get
now I've run out. Now I don't know what to do next.
maybe it's like a manifesting. Each person that you pick is going to come out with merch right after this.
Yeah. Well, Leah's saying even if she's not the winner, great professional points, and I agree with that.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Anything else you wanted to add about Caroline, Jake, or should we go on to my first female pick and why I should tell you guys why you've been missing out?
Take the floor, Chris. Is this your crush? This upcoming one?
Not my crush yet. I'm not going to go in that direction. I'm not going to let my, feelings for this person that I've never met in my life, take over. I'm gonna go with my head, and I'm gonna choose someone. I've got a high risk person, Yam Yam. This season for me, I'm gonna double down on high risk, and we spoke about this a little bit more. Jake, earlier we said, there's a lot of females out there that play this game. They don't win it in a dominant fashion. This person does want to win it in a dominant fashion, but if they don't, they could burn out very, very quickly. And I like what I heard from her, and that's going to be Maddie. I look at Maddie coming into this season as the Ellie of last season. So it could either work really well, or she could misread the room, think she's more in control of the game than what she is, have this master plan already concocted in her head for how she's going to get to the end, and it blows back in her face. But I really like the fact that she was saying she's a middle child. She had to learn to play a life where she was one step behind and wait for the right opportunity to come out and take control, which is what she wants to do in this game. She wants to lay just behind the person who's got the power in the game, maybe be their lieutenant. And then at the merge, she wants to play a very aggressive game. She said, we hear about females, and I'm tired of hearing about it all the time. Like people saying, well, I want to play like Erica because she had this great game. And I think to myself, what game? We didn't see it. We did not see anything that she did out there. They showed us very minimal game. We just have to take the word of other people that were out there that she had this great social game, which she probably did have. But I want to see it. I want some girl to go out there and be the next Parvati, or be the next Natalie Anderson, or be the next Cerie Fields. I feel like we haven't had that big, strong female character like we have over in Australia with Hayley, for instance, in a very, very long time. So I'm hoping she can follow through with what she's preaching when she goes out there in the game, and that she can take control. The problem is if people don't buy into it, like with Ellie, they'll get rid of her very soon, either just before the merge or at the merge. So it's very hard to play that kind of game and make it to the end. And then one other thing that really stood out for me with Maddie is that she said that Survivor taught her how to play the game of, I think it's white collar America, and how to move within companies and get her way up, work her way up the ranks. And I think that's something that I sort of relate to a little bit. Oh, actually, it wasn't her. It was a different girl that said that. Sorry, I'm mixing my two girls up. But Maddie stood out to me. Maybe, but might not be either.
All right. So I like Maddie, but I think kind of what you thought of as a positive.
Oh, it's high risk. It's high risk, I'll admit.
Yeah. I think that being too set in one play style is not good in Survivor, because you think it's going to go one way. It's not. It's not going to. I guarantee what you think is going to happen is not going to happen.
No, it's very difficult. And she is kind of young, but also one of the other things, sorry, I know I'm interrupting. One of the other things that's really cool is that when you see that something in life isn't working for you, too many people will not change up what they're doing. She just left her job to go and play Survivor, which tells me she's a risk taker. And the new game of Survivor is all about taking risks. Are you going to put your hand into that paint to get the beware advantage? I think she does. I'm just hoping she's not another Drea that don't know what to do with those advantages when she gets it.
I don't know who that is, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. She was in Survivor 42. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is there's a fine line, right? It's delicate between being a risk taker and being a rash person who makes incorrect decisions, who jumps without looking and realizing the consequences of not having a job after your 2 weeks on a show like this.
Yes.
So, does that personality type work in Survivor? I don't know. Or do you have to be a little bit more?
Well, Tony won. Tony won twice by playing high risk Survivor by
Sure,
taking
but
chances.
Tony's also a police officer, has to be very disciplined and also in construction.
Kuna, would you?
right?
I'm telling you this. Like, if you were in her position and you got the opportunity to go play this game for $1 million, are you telling me you wouldn't make that jump? You wouldn't say, "Listen,
Wait,
I'm
what
just
was
going to
the
put
job
my work
again?
aside." She was an executive assistant.
Yeah, get the hell out of there. Take Survivor.
Take Survivor.
It depends on what it is, right? Like one of my biggest things is if we go on reality TV, have you ever seen MasterChef, the early episodes where they're getting on the show and they're like, I'm an IT consultant making $500,000 a year, but I just really want to cook. So therefore I'm here. I'm like, no, but sure, executive assistant, go on Survivor and get that.
I don't
million.
even know what
Absolutely.
executive assistant
It's a
means.
secretary,
So
a PA.
It's a secretary to like a
Higher,
C-suite, like a C-suite executive, like a CEO or COO. They get
Yeah.
paid decent money though. They do get
Hmm.
paid decent money when you get to that level. And the thing is though, she's young, man. She's 28. She's got a whole career in front of her. This could potentially, depending on what she wants to do, could blow up her career in a different direction. But
mhm.
I said I'm coming in here this time. I'm not holding my punches, Jake. I'm going for broke. I'm either losing all of my people before the merge or I'm winning this freaking season because Survivor 44 is a monster and it's out there to get you. And if you don't get the
They're
best
bringing
players,
the monster back, I guess.
I'm bringing the monster
What?
back. Jake.
did he? Am I crazy? Did he mention the monster? Probst did in the preview. Did he?
He could have. He might be back on that.
And I was
train.
like, we're back on this. Like, what is going on?
Okay, I've got the next pick here, and geez, man, my fourth pick is still on the table. I didn't expect him to be on the table, and I'm a little bit worried that he
Pick
could
him.
go very good or bad. Do I mix
I
it
know.
up or
I
do
know
I
who you're
not?
talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna
don't.
go for it. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna choose Matt Blankenship, I believe, next as my next
Blankenship.
business. So he's a software engineer. He does security penetration testing for big organizations. So basically trying to see if he can hack into it.
It's a really cool
and then
job.
yeah, it's a really cool job. And then
Yeah.
he sells, like we've had people try and do that to my company before, where they're like, oh, we're going to try and see if we can steal stuff. And then they sell their services to you to say, we got in, but we can teach you how to keep other digital robbers outside of it. I think it's a cool job. I think that, him saying that going out there on the island and seeing alliances and how they're operating and then looking for those little bits of pieces of information that's not secure, that's not encrypted, and that he can grab to drive wedges in between alliances. I think he could be a very fun and villainous character this season. The big problem that I have with him is I don't know if he's more Eric Reichenbach or if he's more, Johnny Fairplay. I don't know which one of the two he is coming into the season. And if he's Eric Reichenbach, we're in trouble. If he's Johnny Fairplay, maybe I get like a little bit of fun, villainous confessionals, him being a character out there. So it could go either way for me here. But I'm also hedging my bet because in previous seasons, what I've done sometimes is I've gone for people from the same tribe only. And now I've got representation across the board. So I'm spreading my chances by having someone from each tribe early on here from purple, orange, and green in my tribe. What do you think about that move, Jake?
Yeah, I was not. I think you kind of when we were talking about Carson, and I was like, "There's another engineer on this season."
Yes.
Yeah. So I just think he's just kind of and this could be like he could have this storyline of like I was awkward, but then Survivor, I was able to grow out of my shell. So he could have that, and that could get him like a lot of confessionals. But he's just in terms of like winning the game, I wasn't too high because he kind of gives off that like antisocial software engineer vibe that you see a lot. So
Jake hates engineers, man.
Yeah, he's like he doesn't like his own kind, mate.
No.
Harvester's saying there's still his two top picks are still on the board here, so it's still open for you guys to pick two of his top picks. It's interesting seeing some of the comments come in here. Dolores saying, was there really a monster before? This may be a true year of the monster. And then I think who is I also Dora saying so his skills are looking for the edge and making it work. I just want to see if he can actually translate that. But also, again, he is a day one fan. He's been a fan of the show for a very long time. Listing Yule as one of his favorite players. I love Yule as well, but he didn't give me Yule vibes though. He didn't give me the vibe like he was going to play like Yule. Kahuna.
No, a very different vibe. Like Yule was just so logical and methodical, and although logic is going to have to be a big part of the way he thinks, being in the industry that he is, he's talked about just being goofy and failing a lot. And I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think in his own interview he mentioned that a comp for him would be Eric Reichenbach. He said that he would compare himself to Eric Reichenbach, which is the weirdest thing, because I don't know, I kind of like that. I wonder if he's playing it down a little bit. I actually am the opposite to what you were saying about Jam Jam. I don't like when people say I'm like Suri. I'm literally one of the best players to ever play this game in the history of Survivor, and that's how I'm coming on as a rookie. But he's got a little bit of self-awareness. Whether in the American game you need that the attitude, you need the confidence, you need that dog about you, and I don't know if he has it or if he's hiding it. He could be the dog that is a big, like Labrador puppy, like just fun and that sort of thing, and a bit goofy, and it may not translate to competitiveness. But his profile, he said that one of the things that he's got is that he is goofy with a strategic brain and very competitive. And I saw that, again, very little information to go off in preseason. They talk about their hobbies and accomplishments, and one of the things that he's done is run a marathon. So he looks like he could be that wiry, athletic, nerdy type. That could really work well for him as well. So we'll see. I like him.
That's an interesting combination that Leah's bringing up here, saying that he wants to play as a mix between Yule and Marianne. I saw a lot of people saying that they want to play like Marianne this season, which can you imagine if we end up getting like 8 people in this cast playing like Marianne, Jake, how entertaining this season's going to be?
That would be fun. I'll bet you everything I have that the producers had them watch 42 like before they came or something.
Yeah.
Because there seems to be a lot of chatter around Marianne.
Yeah. Well, that would have been
Jerome. Jerome, I'm going for broke this season. I'm just putting everything into risk takers this season. It's either going to fail miserably or it's going to be fun to see them go out there and get done what they're saying, because it's one thing to say you're going to do this, but it's another to actually go there and do it. And I do agree with you, Kahuna. It's tough because, sometimes they do mention these legends of the game, and, all of us want to be like the legends of the game. And I'm sure the producers egg them on as well. Like, which legend of the game do you think you can play like, Yeah. So the key is, Jake, to go out there and say you want to play like Zane Knight, but Zane Knight that goes out there for his second try, and that has learned that if you try and vote yourself out of the game, you're going to get yourself voted out of the game. So you want to be that Zane Knight, the one that's learned from his mistakes.
Pick a player that doesn't exist yet. You manifest them into existence, and then be them. Yeah,
100%.
I think that's a good plan. Yeah.
All right, Jake, you're next. Who's your? Kahuna, you're next. Who's your next male pick?
The top of my board is gone. Right, the top half of my board is completely gone. So this is tough.
Yeah, there's a few of them that are very similar, and that's why I've stayed away from the people that I feel are like vanilla, bland, almost the same as each other on the cast right now. I'm staying away from them because it could be either one of those two that end up doing well.
Okay, right. I'm gonna pick one here that I'm a bit worried about. He wasn't that high on my board, but I've been watching Chicago Fire lately as a run through. I'm up to season 7 and I'm loving it. And there's this thing that Americans seem to have about Fire Brigade for some reason. I don't know. In Australia, we have fire people. We just don't like hold them up on this weird pedestal that the Yanks seem to do. So I'm wondering if that might work in Danny. It has to be, right? Like, it's weird how much they're revered. But Danny Massa has a lot of stuff going against him in my own book.
100%. He's playing in the wrong era. He's playing in the wrong era of Survivor. If he played like 10 years ago, I think he would be a hot favorite for a lot of people coming into the season.
Gives me Jonathan vibes. I know you don't know who that is, Kahuna, but
very much so.
Yeah.
I like firefighter, and MMA as a hobby makes him incredibly physically capable. So I think he gets through to at least the merge. He said in his own thing that he's worried that he might come off as a bit of a jock dude bro kind of thing, and I hate that, especially in a game like Survivor. But he's also said he's incredibly nice and kind and trying to overcompensate with that. So maybe that'll help. And like I said, I think he might have that. Everyone's going to love him and thing, but maybe not strategy. But he could get dragged along pretty far as a number, perhaps, and as a physical help at least in the start. I don't know how far he gets, but like I said, the top of my board's gone, and I'm going to go with the firefighter
from New York Bronx.
That's it.
So yeah, so Jay's saying here Mike did well in 42 though, Chris, and I agree. I think the reason Mike did well though is because he was an older gentleman that learned a lot from his lessons, and I think it's hard to compare anyone to Mike because Mike is such a lover of life and wants to get to know people on a deeper level and such a great social player that I don't know if Danny's got that. But I will say one thing: there's only one person that reached out to me prior to the season starting and connected. He hasn't spoken to me, but he connected to my Instagram account, and that's Danny. He's the only one following the account. So one of two things. He's either going to go out there and he's going to bloody play his socks out and have a great season, or he's going to get taken out in a glorious fashion and he's looking for a podcast to come and talk about it all the dirty laundry.
To defend himself.
And listen,
this
Danny,
is how I was actually a genius, and they
Danny,
didn't show it.
Come to Papa Chris's arms. I'm wide open.
Maybe he's watching right now. He could be watching right now.
If you want to vent, Danny, I will be that listening ear for you. I will let you vent all of your dissatisfaction with the monster out there in Survivor 44. You can come here. I will listen to you. We as the audience will want to hear about it. But in all seriousness, Danny was one of those guys. I think I had him ranked 8th, between 6th to 8th. There was a bunch of players that I have at exactly that same ranking. I was like, depending on where you guys are going to go, I'll put him out. He's going to be a beast for the challenges. He's physically very strong. I like his complicated background and the fact that he was bullied as a kid. And that is why he became this gym person. Because I feel like a lot of the times these days online, people hate the alpha male, anything strong. Like if there's a strong male model, strong role model for men out there, people just hate it and it's automatically seen as toxic and all this kind of stuff. I just want to say to people before the season even starts, remember where this guy's origin is. He was that kid that was bullied. He was the one who went out there and bettered himself to get into physically great shape and now does a very honorable job in being a firefighter and saving people on a daily basis. So being in jiu-jitsu, having a martial arts background myself, being in karate, having done that for years, I get the discipline that it takes and the type of person that it creates when you do mixed martial arts. It's a brotherhood. So just based on that alone, I've got his back. I'm just worried that he's playing in the wrong era, Jake. I'm worried that people now don't want to give it to the brochacho. They don't want to give it to the alpha male guy very often. If they get to the end, it's going to be a very difficult one for him to go out and win.
Yeah, I actually was contemplating picking him
I feel better.
Yeah, because I just like I mentioned earlier, I'm not super high on the guys this season.
That's a good comparison, by the way.
Yeah, I think I like him more than
I think
JP.
he's more Cody. I think he's more Cody personality wise.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he's got a personality. Where
So,
JP didn't really have one.
And also, I know earlier I mentioned he's kind of like Jonathan, which Kahuna, if you don't know Jonathan, he was this like challenge beast guy. He literally in his preseason interviews only talked about challenges. He did not mention the social or strategic aspect of the game a single time.
But then he wasn't strategic.
He was, yeah.
He wasn't bad strategically.
So I like that Danny is at least, he's mentioned in his interviews, like, yeah, Survivor is like it's a social game. It's a game about the human condition. So he seems a lot more self-aware in that.
So this is Jonathan for your sake. So this guy was probably the biggest, most physical person we've seen on Survivor since James Clement played the game back in Heroes versus Villains. I think it was the last time James played.
Mm-hmm. Told you were a villain, James.
Yeah, but I feel like he had more game than James. In all fairness, I really feel like Jonathan had more game than James. I feel like a lot of his game wasn't shown because he wasn't winning that season, from what I've sort of picked up. Let me get back to the draft.
I think the dude, bro, athletic thing is very much in the personality, right? Just because someone's physically fit, and I don't think he's huge. He didn't look like he's particularly tall, not like other guys in the season. But I think it comes down to that personality and the fact that he's at least aware of that's how he may come across. Because how many like of those guys come on the show have
100%.
no clue of self-perception of how they're coming across to their tribe mates, all that. He's coming in at least going, I think this is how I'm going to be perceived, and therefore I'm going to act accordingly to make sure that's not the case. And if he can pull that off, and he's got the he's got the physical to go with it, he's got that personality where he's going to be super friendly. I don't know. I hope.
And also, he's been that kid. He's been that kid. He's been the unpopular kid. He's been the kid who was bullied. So he's got a different dimension to himself where he can go in and say, I get you. I get that you feel like you're on the outside, but I used to be that kid as well. Let's work together. Let's form this bond. Like I think there's a lot of upside. Like, I mean, like I said, for me, it was a toss up between him and two other people at this stage of the draft. But Jake, I am interested to know where you going with your second male pick here.
Yeah. Okay. Gotta remember my strategy. Just wing it. All right. So I have two people that I'm trying to decide between. One of them's kind of throwing me for a loop.
It's going to be interesting. The chat definitely has one specific sort of popular choice here that they keep spamming.
I know, and I'm not going.
You're not falling for the chat. Do you reckon the chat's trying to sabotage you, Jake?
No, I don't think so. I just think they're thinking the wrong way.
Okay.
No offense. I'm going to go with Brandon. He's the first one there.
Oh yeah, Brandon. Yep. And it's funny because Jay just brought up here in the chat, interesting point of view, and I think it's about the alpha males, Chris. But I feel like if Danny from 41 made it to the final three, I think he could have won, even though he was an alpha male. It is very true. So you got me on that one. I think Danny again is someone that was very soft spoken, was really good socially. Even though he is an alpha male, he didn't act like an alpha male, if that makes sense. So I think that you're right, he would have won. But it takes a certain type of alpha male to win the game, I'd say. And it's not impossible. You need to be a little bit more in touch with your emotions and have that social awareness, which has always been a thing, really, if you think about it. But yeah, no, that's a good point, Jay.
Just go on the challenge. You can win that instead.
Yeah, I mean, if only Danny did that, right? If only he went to the challenge. If only he was competing on the Challenge World Championship that starts on March the 8th. If only he did that. All right, Jake, give us your thoughts. Why did you go for Danny's doppelganger?
You know what's so funny is that's why I picked him, is because he reminded me of Danny. And I feel like Danny in 41, obviously we didn't do the podcast together when that season aired, but I feel like if we did, I probably wouldn't have been too high on him coming in.
Yeah, same probably.
And so, but he proved me wrong. And I get that vibe from Brandon because he was also a former NFL player, but Brandon seems like he's a massive fan, like from what I've seen, and he like. And I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Danny really was. Like I think he liked the show, but he wasn't like a super fan.
No, he was a fan. He was a fan because remember he was the one who called Jeff Probst out on the hourglass twist to the point where the reason that the hourglass twist did not make its appearance again or was removed was one of the reasons was Danny saying that it affected the integrity of the show and what the show was about. And he apparently followed it for years. So he was a fan of Survivor. His wife, Kiki, was a fan of the challenge. So he went on the challenge for his wife, Kiki. If you didn't know, he kept shouting out Kiki a million times in that season.
I've heard the joke that he just mentioned his wife like every 2 seconds.
Because she was such a big fan of the challenge, so he's like, Kiki would freak out if she knew I was talking to TJ, for instance, but again, like he was a fan. So,
all right. So then they're even more similar than I thought. Brandon, he just seems like a complex guy. Like he talks about like he does like magic tricks, which is like, I don't know, you just would never know that from just looking at him. He just seems like, even though, people may think that like, oh, NFL players, like, they're like kind of like celebrities, I guess. They may not be able to relate too well. I think he could. And I think Danny was able to do that very well too. So, yeah. And I just, the guys this season, now that I'm thinking about it, I think maybe I would have picked Brandon first instead of Matthew. looking back. Maybe I was underestimating him. So
It's interesting because I don't know where Kahuna you placed Brandon, but coming into this, I mean, I could have been seeing this wrong, but there was one big red flag for me on Brandon, and I put him 9th on my rankings, but based on this one big red flag. Firstly, one of the real ironic things about him is that he works in security. And when I watched the reaction video, you'll see it in my reaction. I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. He's a bouncer because he just comes on, he's big. And he's like, no, he's account management. He sits on the phones. I'm like, you're wasting your talent, mate. You need to be out there. You need to be out there by the doors, keeping people away from getting into the club, because no one's going to mess with you. But the big thing that stood out for me and where I'm worried for him is that he basically, to me, looks like a slashy. And I feel like slashies don't do well sometimes on Survivor when you've done so many different things. Like he's a pilot. He does this. He does that. So he's going to be that guy who wants to put himself in the hero role for a lot of things. And he might be good at a lot of things. But he's going to have a massive, massive target on his back very early on because he's physical. He's going to continue to put his hand up to do everything. He's possibly going to think he's the best at everything that he does because in life he is. In Survivor, your strengths become your weaknesses and your weaknesses becomes your strength, right? So I am very worried for him that people will get annoyed with him being that person that knows everything and wants to be everything. And I could be completely wrong. I saw him for less than 30 seconds when he spoke, but I got that vibe that he's not like Danny in that sense because Danny is humble. And I think that is one of the things about Danny that really ingratiated him with the rest of his tribe, Kahuna.
I had Brandon in the middle. I had him at 5th. And I think for me, again, I feel like I'm outmatched in this game, but to me, he was one of those guys that in a 6-person tribe, you need that strength early. There's no hiding, so they're going to ride him to the merge.
Unless you have Evie in your tribe, right, Jake? Then you don't care.
Yeah.
You need that guy early on, I think, anyway. And I hope that'll probably get into the merge, and then once you're at merge, you're gone. Because people go, well, he's going to win out from here and that sort of thing. Unless he's really pushing, like, as far as, personality clashes and that sort of thing. But I don't know if you'll have the NFL, like, not necessarily celebrity, but the rich person tag. You don't need the money kind of thing. Like,
he must have only played for I didn't look into it. He may have just been like in there for like a season, got injured or something. I'm sure we'll hear more about his story. And again, just putting it out there, I do get people here saying that they don't agree. Like Zulu Man says, I mean, I don't really see him as that, honestly. And one person is saying that, what is a slashy? So a slashy is someone that does a lot of different things. We call them slashies because they're like a security guard / pilot / this. So they're like a slashy because they do so many different things. In life, that's awesome. Those are the kind of people you want to be friends with because they motivate you to be better and do more. In Survivor, I think that it can work on people's nerves. And again, like I said, I have very minimal information to make judgments, right? When people are so close to each other. So one thing might stand out to me and I might be like, this is why I'll bump him down. But then again, in Survivor South Africa, we nearly had a person who I thought not as high off going into that season when me and Riley bit a draft way back. That person nearly won the whole season and ended up being one of the stars of the season. That was last. So it shows you we don't know what's going to happen. We've got no idea. We don't know the spoilers or anything. Also, one of the other comments that I wanted to bring up here was Jerome saying, by the way, Chris, SA legend Rob Bentelli is heavily trained and fighting in MMA. I didn't know that, Jerome, so I'll have to reach out to him because I do talk to Rob every now and again. I didn't realize that he's into MMA at all, so it must be something that's quite new, something else we can talk about off air. That slang word doesn't exist here in America. Okay, it must be an international thing. Yeah, I feel like the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the first time I heard that was in South Africa because we had a Nesu in that season who was called a slashy because she did so many different things. So it must be an internationalized thing.
Yeah, Americans as you were a multi-hyphenate, I think. A multi-hyphenate.
Yeah.
a singer / actor / waiter / so they're everything.
Yeah, I had no idea what that meant as you were talking about it, but I kind of
picked it up
from the context. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Jake, you've got the floor. You've got to pick a female pick next. So there's still a few options out on the table. Is there anybody that sort of piqued your interest? And don't choose my
can I just
my love interest for the season?
Sidetrack you?
Yes.
Someone mentioned slashy as it sounds like an Aussie slang. Here's some Aussie slang for you guys. If you're having a slash, anyone knows what that means?
Drinking or I feel
you. No, you.
I know. You're doing a number one.
Yeah,
doing
doing
a
number
number
one
one.
side of a wall order, just having a slash.
Yeah.
That's what. So there you go,
Man.
Jake. Some Aussie slang for you, mate.
You know what's funny is like when I first started watching Survivor, I actually had moments where I was like, "What are they talking about?"
Yeah, because it's
Like,
hard. Yeah.
and
I can
I'd
be an
never,
interpreter.
I never thought that would happen because it's like, oh yeah, they speak English, you know, like they have a little bit of an accent, but you know, yeah, yeah. So that kind of was funny to me.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of little things like that. I mean, I've lived in New Zealand long enough now that a lot of it kind of translate between the two countries, but there are still
Mhm.
some subtle differences as well. All right, back into the woman pick here. Who are you picking next, Jake?
You know, I want to try to pick your crush. I'm trying to.
You're like trying to figure out who my
I'm
crush
gonna
is.
try to.
He wants to like stab me in the heart on this next one.
I actually, you know, I think it's between two people that are your crush.
Ooh, let's see how well you know me.
I think it's Lauren.
Is that who you're picking?
I think that's your crush, and that is who I'm picking.
Oh,
That is my crush. Damn, you know me too well,
yeah.
mate. Damn.
she's stunning.
She is
She's
stunning.
She's very beautiful. Sorry
Yeah.
to my girlfriend, but she would agree.
Yeah.
With me. She is.
Man, I should have picked. No, listen. I feel like between her and the other, I went for the option of the person I think is out there to win it more than the other. But Lauren is stunning.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
Yo,
not-
this
not
whole
a-
thing is over.
no.
I'm going home.
No, listen.
I'll do a
so-
Cartman. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
You know, okay. Listen, I'll try to actually. So, she was fairly high up for the women for me. You know, she's my second woman pick, but I wasn't. It wasn't until the last second where I was like, let me try to figure out Chris's crush.
Damn,
So
I didn't think you knew me that well. I did not think you knew me that well, mate.
No, I really like her because I believe she's a single mom of two, which is
Yes.
Yeah,
That's why I don't like her.
Because Kahuna, he's used to kids around him.
No. You know what my thing is? Like, I was like, who makes divorce a personality trait as like your big selling factor to like, you're like, I'm divorced. I'm really going through that. I'm like, oh no. Like, she made it a point in her Survivor thing as like her story is if divorce is that big of a thing, I'm worried that she might be there more for like.
But I would question Kahuna
finding
if
yourself.
I would question Kahuna that if divorce wasn't that big of a thing, you were never in love or shouldn't have been married to the person you were married to in the first place. Because
true.
you literally
Kahuna,
chose your
yeah.
soul partner, like the person you thought you're going to live with for the rest of your life, right? And you broke up with. It's not like you just dated them for like 2 weeks or
Sure,
a couple of
and
months.
it should definitely be that way. But how does that translate to the game of Survivor? Is she too PTSD'd from going through that to be able to play the game properly? Was my concern. When you're so caught up in what's going on outside of the game, what does it mean when you're in the game?
You know, maybe I'm a noob, but
clearly not. I'm the noob.
But listen, because I didn't know she was. I mean, I assumed she was divorced. You know, but I haven't seen her mention it. Obviously, she did.
In the bio, because you only get like 20 seconds, right?
I'm
And
just
she
looking
used
at
20 seconds of her time to talk
Was
about.
it the video?
I will say this. Krista brings up a great point here. She says, well, everyone's story for Survivor are also hyped up. They asked
That's
her
true.
to give her story
That's true.
and the impact that it has on her being a single mom. For me personally, like I cannot imagine what it feels like to be this 31-year-old elementary school teacher who does not get paid a lot of money, being an elementary school teacher, right? To have to go through this thing where now she is the mom and the dad in the house. And we all know that the impact is so much more on women than men when there's a divorce, because in general, men don't end up with the kids. The woman ends up with the kids and she has to raise them. So I think that it definitely would have shaped her. And I think to come to your point, Kahuna, it depends on how fresh that is in her mind. And if she's got a great support structure at home that are looking after the kids, that could affect her. I mean, being out there and she's like, man, I'm the dad and the mom in this relationship. I'm doing everything for the kids. If she doesn't have a mom and dad who can help out or something like that, that could be in the back of her head and it can distract her from playing the game.
Yep.
But I do think as an elementary school teacher coming into the game, she knows how to deal with kids on a daily basis. And Survivor players are kind of like kids. Like, I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine, like, having to deal with Ali and Gabler and all those people last season? Like, Sam was basically the elementary school teacher looking after all of them, So I think having those skills is really transferable to the game of Survivor, and she's beautiful. So I think that, people are going to, want to talk to her. I love the Southern accent that she's got. The fact that she's from somewhere else is so refreshing, because I feel like America kind of just used the two coasts, like the East or the West Coast people in general. You don't get people from other states playing the game anymore. So I really enjoy seeing someone from Texas. I've spent some time in Texas when I lived in America. So that accent is familiar to me. I don't know. There's something about her. I'm telling you, if she gets a foothold in the game, she's going to go deep. And I did see Gigi Mack here trying to put me on the spot, saying Laura or Cara Maria. Chris, choose. That's a tough one. Cara Maria has been a crush for a very long time. She's played the game of the challenge for many seasons, so that makes it very difficult to choose between the two of them. But I think I'm allowed to have a crush this season. I don't think Cara Maria would be too angry at me for having a crush for this season, Jake.
No, she's going to be pissed. Yeah, no, I'm feeling. I feel like that kind of what you said, Kahuna. I could see that happening. But I also see your point, Chris. We'll see with that, but I think also like with her kids, being a single mom, you probably spend a ton of time with your kids. They really look up to you since you're the only like parental figure. So that will be hard for her to be away from her kids for a month or however long it takes to film all this. So that'll be tough, but I think she can do it.
It's a good thing, Gigi, that I don't live in America, I don't think Paulie is flying all the way over here. Yeah, so Kahuna, you're next. Who is going to be your next female pick? I could see you in thought there, deeply thinking and contemplating.
The middle picks are hard because, your top picks all get grabbed by the other guys, and you're like, okay,
yeah, Jake did you dirty, Kahuna. I can't believe he did that to you.
Look, I didn't have Lauren at the top, but she's higher than a lot of what I've got to pick.
She was my number 2 pick for obvious reasons here after Maddie. So good pick by Jake. I did not think you were going to get her. So I'm surprised. You know me a lot better than what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick... I don't know. This is probably the opposite of what's a good pick. I'm going to pick Heidi.
Heidi.
No, yeah, Heidi Lagras.
Yep.
She is... unfortunately the oldest female on the entire cast, which is never a good sign, but she's also a CrossFit evangelist, which all CrossFit people are, and she says she's a super fan that is the first generation immigrant, all that sort of thing. So I like that. She's an engineer, management, very smart, she's overcome a lot in her life, athletic with CrossFit, if that means anything. I don't know, but yeah, I'm picking Heidi. You're both very
Kuna,
silent. I'm not getting a lot of
Kuna,
good pick.
You're going
I'm
down
trying
that
to justify
pathway.
it in my own head now. I'm like,
I'm inviting Kahuna to every single draft we do from here on, because Kahuna has got his top 3 in the opposite side of my rankings, and I've got mine on the other side, so it's all good. I had Heidi as my last pick on the rankings this season at number 9. But
I don't have her at the top.
Jake, I think Jake, if it was only me and Jake, he would have known that he could leave her out for a while, because he knows my opinion about all the women playing this game, and specifically the mom role in Survivor, which I think she's going to fit into. They very rarely are successful at Survivor, and again, somebody's going to call me out for it, but wasn't it Tina, maybe the last mom type role that won the show? It's been a very...
So the only one?
The only one. Yeah. I just can't remember anybody else that sort of fits that archetype that actually won the game. Chrissy Hofbeck had
Denise?
as good of a game as you could potentially. Denise, maybe, yes. Denise won really. She won dominantly.
She was really good.
Yeah, so if she can,
yeah. Dawn. Does anyone remember Dawn?
She didn't win.
Dawn. Brenda
Chris is calling me out here, saying Kahuna is learning Chris is an ageist.
I'm learning a lot, apparently.
Oh yeah, I picked up on his ageism immediately right when I met him.
And Chris dares to tell me he's not a fan of the the Love Islands and MILF Manors of the world. Come on.
MILF Banner. I've been watching that with my girlfriend. My girlfriend and her family's been watching that, and I have been watching with them too. It's something.
Yeah. I'm staying very far away from those ones, guys. But yeah, now listen. I mean, again, I'm a bit worried. Like 43 is not that old. Like, I mean, she's
Thank
not in
you.
her 50s. She's not in her 50s. But yes, again, she's the oldest woman coming in to this season. She's got that Puerto Rican background. Sandra is a hero of hers. Who wouldn't love, Sandra, who's represented? She also loves Angelina, who I'm a big fan of. I saw a little bit of Angelina love from a few people this season, which is encouraging to see, because I feel like Survivors, like, you need to focus on these players, because this is kind of the players we want on the show, because they bring something. So if she's got that kind of personality, if she's got that fiery side to her, that could all be very interesting. She's an engineering manager, so she may have some things in common with the engineering boys that she can talk about. I'm just a little bit worried that if her tribe does go to an early tribal council, being the oldest woman on the tribe, and being on a very stacked tribe with some really physically capable people, I feel like she could stand out in that tribe. And that's where I'm a little bit worried for her.
For my female pick, I'm not picking Heidi. No, I'm picking Heidi. Damn it.
You already committed.
Let me bring this up here for a second. So this is her tribe, right? When you look at that tribe that she's in, I feel like the obvious choice, if they go to tribal council very early on, they're not getting rid of the two young girls. They're not getting rid of the two strong guys, I don't think, unless this guy wants to do something sneaky. I feel like she's the odd one out in that combination. So you got to look at the combinations as well.
But listen, you gotta. So I know I've been completely biased against the engineers so far, but she's an engineering manager. That makes all the difference. The type of people that are engineering managers are the outgoing ones, the ones that can take on big, tasks and like manage a bunch of people. They have to have good social skills.
Yep. Jake's
sure.
genius.
So,
I feel much better. Yes.
So yeah, I'm helping you out, Kahuna. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Just wing it like me. You gotta but seriously, like, that's, not everyone can do that. So I think that's a good sign for her. I do agree, though, Chris, that the shape up of her tribe is a bit sketchy. Were they to lose early on, but if they don't lose till later, she could have time to kind of solidify some alliances.
Man, I'm in such a tough spot here because I got the next two picks, guys, and my strategy so far in this draft has been to go like, a bull in a china shop and just go personality. Let's get someone with a big personality deep in the game that'll give me a lot of confessionals that will potentially win the game for me. And I don't know if I should mix it up here and go for someone that I think is a sleeper and could potentially win the show because they fit that mold of the type of women that have been winning the show recently, or if I should go for someone that, again, is balls to the walls, chat. Let me know in the chat. Should I go balls to the wall with my next pick, or should I go for a person who I think can win? Should I go personality, or should I for once make a smart move? What do you think, chat? Let me know in the
chat. Chris, this is sad. You're turning to the chat to make
chat will let me know. Chat. Okay, Luckland's land. Welcome to the live saying balls to the wall.
I think you should say balls as much as possible. Just say balls more time.
Then he says smart. So okay, so you say do smart. Gotta risk it for the biscuit, Chris from Jay. I feel like chat wants me to just go.
Keep the theme going.
Harvesters go wild as well. Okay, well, I'm gonna go wild. It's looking like it's going wild. So I'm gonna if this person that I'm skipping from because they're third, I could have had my top 3 picks. I'm gonna go for my 4th pick instead of my 3rd pick. If this person that wins it is the 3rd person, I'm gonna be so angry at myself. But the chat has never let me wrong, so I'm gonna go balls to the wall, and I'm gonna go for another big character. I'm going for Franny Myron next from the Green Tribe. Age 23, research coordinator, massive Sophie vibes from her, but she's an interesting player. Even though she gives me that Sophie vibes and she could potentially be strategic, she wants to play with big players that's going to make big moves. She wants to be chaotic. So is she like the child of Sophie and Tony combined? Like it's a little bit of like both.
The
Could we
two,
get like a mad genius?
the two top players of Winners at War mixed together.
Can you
That's-
imagine like if she's
yeah.
got that level of upside to her? But one of the other things that I also like about her is the fact that she has worked similar to some of the others. Like, there's a theme this season. She's worked in a nail salon. So she's had to do with customer service, high-paced foot traffic coming into there. So dealing with women in, when she was, I guess, in her teens to early 20s that were twice her age, and she had to like fit in, being exposed to so many different personalities at the same time. I think there's some real good things that can be grabbed there from a life experience that she could potentially bring into the game. She identifies the most with Gabby and Aubrey. Again, two players
totally
I really
reminds
like as
me
well.
of Gabby. She is so Gabby. Like that's the first.
As long as
thing
she's
I
not as
thought of.
much of a train wreck as Gabby, and she gets really, obsessive about Matt, we should be all right. Who's the Christian Hibiki of this season?
Or no, is it Carson? Do you think Carson's more of the Christian?
Oh, it could be Carson. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Good
We'll
point.
see. Yeah.
I'm looking at her profile now, her pre-interview thing, and it said favorite hobbies:
Collecting leaves.
collecting leaves,
Yeah.
game nights, and collaging. She was way down on my list. She collects leaves. She's going to be just busy collecting leaves the entire time because that's all there is out there.
These
She'll
are
have so many leaves.
Exactly. This is the kind of thing that we've
Chat's
been
loving
lacking.
it, guys.
Yeah.
Chat's loving it. They're loving this pick. So I am Team Chaos this season.
This is what we've been lacking for a host, Chris. Somebody that actually thinks about the in-game consequences like Kahuna. She will just be collecting leaves.
Collecting leaves, man.
Collecting
This
leaves?
is-
What does that mean?
She put that.
She
as-
said favorite
Yeah.
hobby: collecting leaves.
Collecting leaves.
Literally.
She put that as one of her hobbies. I'm like,
What the
what?
hell?
Yeah.
She also
So,
did say, Chris,
yeah.
that her real life inspiration and why, like everyone's saying, my family, that's she literally said Sophie Clark is actually the coolest person ever. So not who your survivor inspiration is, but who your actual real world inspiration is. And she
Yeah.
said Sophie Clark. So
So we've got that in common, at least. So I feel like it's a match made in heaven. But no, listen, she's throwing out. It's funny because they gave her one opportunity to say like, who are you going to play like, and she said, Gabby and Aubrey, and then she also said with a little bit of spunk from Marianne. So she was also one of those people that brought Marianne up, So she just had so many players there that I don't know if she knows who she's going to be when she's out there. But I'm excited to find out, Jake.
Same. I think she could be some fun on this season for sure.
Zudaman, when she makes merch, then what? Team TV, yes. Team Tony
TV.
Vlachos.
Yep.
And in this case, good TV.
That was one of the best like double meanings ever.
Yeah.
TV for his initials, and that's it was awesome.
All right, so I think I'm back with the next male pick, and keeping it real in regards to going for these big personalities, people that either are going to go very early on, but if I just reckon if I pick all the personalities, chances are at least half of them or two or three of them do make the merge, and I do end up getting a lot of confessionals, and potentially if they win, it would be a win that I am proud of. I want to be proud of picking the winner this season. I don't want to feel like, I picked the boring option. They won. Whoopty. I want to pick a player where I was like, yeah, this person won. They shouldn't have won. So I'm going to go Kane. I'm giving the live chat what they wanted from the start. They've been wanting us to pick Kane this whole draft. They've been saying pick Kane. Age 25 reminds me of Daniel Strucky. Hopefully he doesn't end up being a Daniel Strucky out there because he was good TV, but he went before the merge. I really enjoyed Daniel. I'd love for Daniel to come back. Law student. So obviously a little bit of maybe Nick in there as well,
Well, Daniel was also a lawyer too.
Yeah. So there you go. So he wants to be Tyson for his effortless charisma. I mean, who doesn't like Tyson?
Of course, yeah.
I love that.
But he wants to play like Zeke the most, with a little bit of a tweak of how Zeke played. So I thought that was quite interesting. He's one of those people that looks like this big goofball out there. He might be underestimated. Says he's got some hidden skills. We see him making the fire, practicing. Is that like foreshadowing to him winning a fire contest maybe at the end of the game? Who knows? Maybe they've started that in the preseason content.
Yeah, starting the foreshadowing before the show even begins. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's Daniel Strunk, Chris is saying, not Daniel Stuckey. So yeah, sorry. I'm horrible with names sometimes. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Daniel. One of the things that stood out for me about him, and one of the things I always believe when you play Survivor, some people go there for the journey. Some people go there to find themselves. But Survivor is not a place to find yourself. It's a place where you need to know who you are at your core, because everything is going to get stripped away from you. And the better you know yourself, the better you do in the game in general. And that is why he's going out there, not to find himself. He knows who he is. He's young enough to make $1 million, he says. He's not going for the money. He's going for the experience, to be part of Survivor, because he's such a big fan. So those are all things that I really like about him. The fact that he's going and feeling like he's playing with house money. That's how I would want to play Survivor if I go out there. You know, I had a bit of a conversation with Simon, who I know, Jake, you wouldn't know too much of Australian Survivor. I won't spoil too much this week. We had a conversation, and I said to Simon, you know, at least you'll be remembered no matter where this game goes, because you're going out there and you're giving it a red hot crack. And that's much better than being forgotten.
He was on Brain versus Broad.
And he's back for Heroes vs. Villains.
Yeah, I remember. He was voted out with 2 idols.
Yeah, so he's already being remembered for that season, and now I won't spoil it. But he's going to be remembered for this season.
Very much so.
Great.
And so all I'm saying is, I know some people are like, you know, where's Nightmare to get voted out with 2 idols, all that stuff, and you wouldn't want that to happen. But I would rather be remembered than not remembered. Like, I'd rather not be that middle of the road player. So I feel like, you know, Kane could be that person.
Is this the monkey's paw though, Chris? We remember Dan Foley from Worlds Apart. Do you remember?
Yes.
Remember him? He was I don't think he was the greatest guy out there. Let's just say that. And he said before the season, he's like, I will make one thing clear. You will remember me after this season is done.
For the wrong reasons.
We remember you, Dan. But I don't think it's for the reason you thought,
I don't think Kane is Dan. I don't think
I know.
He's okay.
I'm just kidding.
I think you misquoted him earlier, Chris, when he said he's the effortless of a younger, more handsome Tyson.
How can you get more handsome?
By throwing that in, it shows his personality, the jokester to him, and I really dug that. I think it's really weird, because I watched his thing and I thought the way he spoke in his confessional was so lacking of charisma. But then what he's written in his interviews and stuff is that he's goofy and he's making jokes, and I love all that. I just didn't get it from the face to face. I was like, oh, this dude's boring as hell. I don't know what's going to happen here. So interesting.
Dora's saying, dang, I'm putting money on Chris. Long shots always pay off big, and this year has been the year of long shots.
There's a reason why they're long shots. They don't always pay off big. They literally pay off less frequently.
There's a reason, Kahuna. There's a reason I don't gamble. I never go to the casino because I'll probably end up losing too much.
Man, this 1,000-to-1 shot always comes through.
Yeah, I'm putting it all on black every single time. Let's get the roulette going. $1,000. All right, Kahuna. Tell me, who are you rating here for the next guy? Who's the next guy pick you're doing?
And you got to remember, you're giving me the last
guy pick, yeah.
I'm going to pick Josh Wilder.
Yeah.
Very good pick.
It looks incredibly athletic. He seems very charismatic, very fun. I don't like the fact that he's doing that old Survivor bullcrap of, I'm going to hide that I'm a podiatric surgeon because I don't want people to think how smart. Shut up. No one cares like that you're a surgeon. There's been doctors, there's been surgeons. Just own it and play the game. I don't think anyone's looking at a podiatric surgeon as if they're freaking Albert Einstein anyway. But maybe he's saying combine it with my athletics, combine it with my frame, and it does make an overall intimidating package. And if he's worried about threat management, then sure. Like, I appreciate him trying to do that. But he might be similar to, like, I'm assuming you guys meant he was the Brandon, right? He was similar to Brandon. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic. Yes. He's going to get to merge because of that, and he's not going to go very far after it because of that.
I'd say to both Brandon and Danny, they're kind of all three almost the same to me. The more athletic young male type. But I do like Josh. Josh is my 5th ranked coming into this. Like, so obviously you've picked a few people that were lower than that, and I jumped over him to choose Kane to keep it chaotic. But if I was to use my brains, if chats were like, no, use someone you think that could do really well in this game, I think Josh has got a potentially good mind for this game. I like the fact that he's hiding, the fact that he's a surgeon or surgical is it podiatrist? How do you pronounce it?
Podiatrist.
Podiatrist. Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, my second
Yeah,
language.
the way he said it was the first time I'd heard it said that way as well. Podiatric surgeon.
Yeah. So
Oh.
anyway, so I like the fact that he's hiding it because I do think that even though it's Survivor 44 and people don't care anymore, I do think it can prevent you from getting there when people think you've got a lot of money and you don't need it potentially in the game. I do think that there is a certain stereotype that will come with that as to him being a smart person that could do well at puzzles and, potentially be a bit of a challenge beast, because not only is he physically fit, he's also mentally clearly very strong, so that could put a unnecessary threat on his back. And I think because of his body, like the guy has got a body I would die for. Like, he's athletic, he's in shape, lean, he could very easily.
Is this your male crush?
This is my male crush. This is my male crush for the season. You've heard it here first.
He's also a Tough Mudder and like obstacle course guy,
which I love. I love all that stuff. I'm into Spartan, Tough Mudder, all that type of races. But I think that with his body being in the shape that it is, he could easily tell him that he's a fitness instructor. He would have a lot of knowledge of what it takes to be in shape like that, because that doesn't happen on its own unless he's blessed like James Clement. Second shout out, because apparently that guy never trained a day in his life and looked like a bodybuilder.
How does that
That's
happen?
insane. That's insane.
It's just from Big and Graves,
I mean,
I guess.
I get it. I totally understand where he's coming from. So
yeah, this guy's just like, I mean, I'd love to see what James looks like today. Like, if he still hasn't trained, like, does he still got that shape and definition? But just a natural freak, But in any case, so Josh, being in that shape, I'm sure he'd be able to hold his own if he was to pretend to be a gym instructor or something like that. But I do like him. He looks to have a very smart brain for the game, Jake. Kind of interested to know why you haven't gone for him earlier. What's your thoughts on him? Do you like him in this spot?
I think this is about where, like, if he would have been my pick if you didn't go for him, or if Kahuna didn't go for him. But the thing that, this is going to sound weird, but the thing that kind of throws me off about him is that he seems too perfect. Like he's got it all, like, but too much. Like, it's too much, and he's like gone through all of this hardship in his life. He's I believe he's gay, so he's had to, go through the hardships of that. And it's like, okay, you're giving me too much here. I don't like it. The vibes are off. Who he reminds me of, Chris, and Kahuna, again, I'm sorry for bringing up people that you don't know. But High from 42.
Oh, that I have not seen that connection. But I mean, High was my number one pick for that season. He was my winner pick for that season.
And he would have been, I believe you got the first pick that season. He would have been mine. Yeah.
Yes.
He would have been my first pick. So we both fell for it. And it's not like High was a slouch out there. He was good, but it's like those types of people just don't win. They just don't.
So it's almost like you're thinking he's putting on a front, but when he's out there and he gets deprived of everything, that's when we'll see his true colors come out. But I don't think there's a Romeo out there this season to annoy him, because High kind of came apart when him and Romeo started having this battle, and they just couldn't get along.
Maybe it'll be Carson. I don't know. Just maybe Kane will do something weird and annoy him.
It's an interesting. That's an interesting observation.
But that was just the first thing when I just watched his video and read his bio. I was just like, I couldn't get High out of my head.
Yeah, so. But I think personally, Kahuna being the second last guy pick of the season, I think he's still at that.
Honestly,
I'm happy
I'd
with
agree.
him there.
Yeah.
Because
so obviously you're left with the last person with Bruce here. So what's your thoughts on Bruce coming your way? Bruce being the last male pick of the season. Do you think there's any upside to him potentially coming into this season? Being the oldest guy, I think, coming into this season after just having the oldest guy win. Do you think it'll have an effect? These guys obviously haven't seen Gabler's win.
Comparatively, I don't feel great about Bruce. I mean, there's a reason why he's the last one here, but there's always a chance. I mean, if we were doing this just based off of gameplay last season, Gabler would have been last. He literally would have been last. I don't think there's anybody else that I would put last. So anything can happen. But Bruce, he seems like a really nice guy, and like he just doesn't. There's just not a lot there, in my opinion. Like going through his bio, I was just like, okay, yeah, he just seems like kind of a normal dude, with a family man.
He looks big. He looks like a power.
I think he's like I do think he's more like Abram J than Roxroy, because Roxroy had this military background likeness to him.
Yeah.
You know?
He doesn't really remind me of Roxroy, and personally, Roxroy was a bit more kind of weird. And
I loved Roxroy. Can we have Roxroy?
Same.
Can we have Roxroy back like very soon, like second chances or something? I just love it. And in fact, I feel like we would have to have him back because he's losing his eyesight, right? So we would have to have him back like sooner rather than later. But I love the chaos Roxroy brought to the game, because Kahuna was literally like this guy who stepped into a time chamber and froze himself from back in the 2000s when Survivor was first invented. And he came in and he's not watched any season since season 2. And he came into the game and he played with those same morals and compass and, you know, making things around campus important, collecting wood is important.
I get the fish.
Yeah, like that's literally who Roxroy was. Like he was not there for the strategy, but I really enjoyed him. I think he would do better if he played another season. I don't think Bruce is going to have Roxroy upside as a character, because I do agree with you slightly on that, Jake. I think he's just like when I did my cast reaction, you guys will see when I put it up. I looked at him, I was like, man, I like this guy. I want to be friends with Bruce. Like he just seems like that kind of guy you want to be friends with, because he looks like a super nice guy. You know, he talks about, you know, wanting loyalty in a alliance, which is again 2000s. You get a dog if you want loyalty. You don't go to Survivor. Survivor is not about loyalty. People won't be loyal to you, especially in Survivor 44. You know, and he loved Jeremy for his sense of family and commitment. He's into boxing, golfing, all that kind of stuff. He just looks like a nice guy, but I don't know if he knows the game that he's getting into and if he's ready for that.
A lot of Jeremy mentions as well from this cast.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of Jeremy love. Yeah. And I think it's quite telling, actually, you know, that a lot of people really loved his game. That again, that diversity is working for some of these new players, having exposure to that, because they've got more role models out there that they can look up to and clearly can gravitate towards in the game. Yeah. I think Bruce, even Danny shouted out Jeremy as well as a fellow fireman, you know?
But yeah.
That's true. Hey,
I'm sorry to say this, Jay. I think Bruce was the rumored Medivac.
Oh, really?
What? Really?
When I said I paused, I saw Probst leaning over a black arm. So it's either going to be Bruce, Brandon, or Josh. And I think I saw Brandon standing. So it was just in the preview, the trailer episode. It might not be a Medivac at all. It could be a red herring, like you get that first episode injury, but then they're there for the second one. And it might be so, I don't know, but that is what gave me the pause and why I had him and Josh so low.
Dang.
Wow. Well, Jay's saying, he's rumored to be Medivac. So
I haven't read anything, but I saw it. I literally okay, pause. And I did the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like pointing at the screen. Going, I think that's him. I think
so. The only hope you've got, Jake, is if that is the case, because we don't know, none of us are into spoilers.
And then Matt was the other guy that actually fell off. In the video, so I got both of them.
I don't think Matthew's going anywhere. I think the fact that they showed him in that trailer is good for him. I think he's going to be a big character, so I think he chose well, and I just don't think they would show that if he was going to get Medivac that early. Yeah. The only thing you've got to hope for with Bruce is that it doesn't happen in the first episode, and that he at least gets a couple of episodes.
That's what I was about to say for some upside to this. That maybe they give him his flowers.
That'd be good.
So then I'll get some confessional points. Yeah.
All right, so we're going into, you've been severely disadvantaged for this last round because you got the last male pick, but you won't get the last female pick of this draft. Yep. Where are you leaning towards with the 3 women that are still on the table?
So it's a bit of a toss-up, but one of these
just while you're thinking about it, the woman that I left on the table was my number 3 pick. I skipped my number 3 pick to pick my number 4, right? Because I went for the character. So my number 3 pick, my number 5 pick, and my number 6 pick are still on there. So all of these women, in my opinion, are still pretty decent.
Is stoked, yeah.
I'm still pretty happy with the last 3 women that are left.
So this person I'm about to pick is actually from the same town as me, which is weird it was weird to see like when the cast was first released like on Inside Survivor like months and months ago.
Time to become
see,
friends so you can see if you
Yeah,
can use that
to
angle to
see-
get on the show, mate.
to see Mesa, Arizona was weird. So she kind of intrigues me to just see that. So I'm picking Jamie.
Jamie.
Jamie Lynn.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Lynn. Is it, did I get it right?
that was her. That was
That was
her.
her. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
She was my number 3 pick.
Interesting.
I nearly picked
Really?
her. I nearly picked her. Yep.
So I don't actually I don't feel that down
Strong
on
about
her.
her.
Well,
Oh.
I don't also feel that strong about her. I mean, this is only my third woman, so like it's
This is what makes
it-
this draft so exciting
yeah.
because it's only you
It's
have to be so much
actually-
more critical because it's 6, 6, and 6.
Yeah. But I just like Lauren, and well, Lauren was your crush, so I picked her because it's so
Yeah, you
I
just being
actually
spiteful.
I might have picked her. Yeah, she was the other person I was debating picking if I wasn't gonna try to expose you. And then I think Claire was my number 1, so I just went with her. So I actually do really like her. She just seems just very bubbly, very.
She's
like-
the person when I started talking about the corporate white collar America,
Uh-huh.
having used that in her profession to climb the ranks within corporate America, and now she wants to use that in Survivor. And I could see so much of that because I watched Survivor from the age of like 10, 11, grew up watching it throughout all my teens, going into corporate, New Zealand, I guess, having used a lot of those skills, like learning how to get along with people and network and dealing with the difficult personality, the Philip Shepherd in The Office type of thing, and how do you, get alliances so that you can go from one job to another job, become friends with recruiters. Nepotism is
Mhm.
always a thing that people look down upon. I
Yeah.
actually really respect it because there's a hustle involved in getting to know the right people to climb the ranks as you go. You shouldn't be spiteful because of it. You should be looking at yourself and saying, why aren't I doing it? Why am I not making these allegiances within the company that I'm working or within external recruiters and things like that? What can I do to network better? Is there recruitment events I could go to? So I used a lot of that type of thinking in my own profession. So I really related to that when she said that. So I think with her coming into the game, there's a lot of upside because I feel like she would be, if she does well, she's not going to be an offensive big personality, but she'll have that social game and strategic game sitting in the shadows, potentially like a Erica this season, which those are the type of players that win Survivor currently. Those are the type of women that go out there and do extremely well, Jake. So I think it's a good pick. Kahuna, what was your thoughts on her?
My thoughts was that she did really well in the corporate world and is now a yogi who lists her hobbies as gardening, yoga, cooking, golfing, hiking, reading, painting, swimming, writing,
What a
eating,
life.
laughing.
So is
maybe
she a
like-
slashy?
Could be.
She doesn't know what she is, and that's the thing that gets me. A yogi that lists everything under the sun.
The one thing I
just
didn't
like-
like,
yeah.
the one thing I didn't like is when she said, we like speaking things into existence.
Yeah, get out of
That
here.
phrase gets me every time when people say that. I get it. You got to manifest it. You got to think about it. Then you got to achieve it. But just by someone saying that makes me think like, I'm going to put it out there and it's just automatically going to happen. That was like the one thing that grinded my gears a little bit. But I still think there's a lot of upside to her.
So years ago on Australian Survivor, Jake, I don't know if you remember a guy named Henry,
Of course.
who was was he a construction worker or a plumber or something? Some physical job, but he came on and convinced
He said he was a
everyone that
yoga instructor.
yoga
Yeah.
instructor. So he's done it but that's okay because you can get them on side, but he had what he thought was a strategic mind behind it and all that sort of thing. I think she genuinely buys into speaking things into existence, Chris, and it's not going to speak anything into existence in the world of Survivor for me. You got to speak
that
like
is a worry. That
alliances.
is a worry.
Yeah.
Because I've met
you-
people that say that type of stuff and you're just like,
But again, she could just be playing it up. Kind of like
100%.
the producers were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're a yogi, so you like, manifesting and the vibes of the universe, right? Like, and she's
Flynn.
like, "Oh, totally,
Sure.
yeah."
Flynn, welcome to the live stream. Yes.
Flynn.
So if you look at the teams, my team is Team TV, all the big characters, big personalities. So I had to go for Yam Yam off the gate because, man, I love that guy. He gives me so much Marianne Upside vibes as well. All right, so there's 2 people left. We're getting to the bottom here of the last 2 players. I'm okay with either one because, like I said, it's my number 5 and number 6 pick that is still available, and I think they're interchangeable in some ways. So where are you going to go, Kahuna? Who are you leaving me with, and who are you taking off the board?
I feel like I should go with Asian representation and have that on my squad, but I'm gonna go with the opposite and pick Sarah Wade.
All right, tell us why you're picking her. She was my number 5, so she was ahead of Helen, who's number 6.
Yeah, she could be in that young group. She's a management consultant. I don't even know what the hell that means in reality, like everyday life. Like, I'm a manager. I don't need you to consult with me. But I don't know. Like, she seems like she looks athletic. If she is in that corporate world, like you've just rattled on about how great it is and transferable it may be.
Politics, the politics in corporate, Kahuna, you're in management yourself. There's so much politics in white collar jobs that I think it does make you aware of it quite a lot and how to navigate different people. And we had someone asking me, is there a Philip Shepherd? Is it other Philip Shepherds out there? Believe me, I've worked with some Philip Shepherds in my life. I have.
For me, she says that she graduated with a 3.98 GPA. That doesn't mean anything to Australians, but I assume it means it's high.
4 is the highest.
Yeah, and the summa cum laude as well, which I think is a funny thing to say.
That means,
loud.
I believe it means you got all A's.
There was, do you like Mallrats? That movie Mallrats? Have you heard of that? Kevin Smith. Long before you, probably before you were born, Jake. But someone said, "Yeah, I graduated with a summa cum laude," and the response was, "I hope cum laude one day as well." So I always thought that just sticks in my head as someone who didn't know what it meant when I was 15, and then I had to Google what that Latin phrase actually is, and it's complete opposite. I thought it was funny. Anyway, like there's not a lot left on the board, right? But she looks athletic to me. The only problem that I had with her is she seems
saying she looks athletic is such an understatement, man. Have you seen the abs on her? Like she is. You could eat cheese off that. I'm just saying. Again, great cheese of it.
Anything outdoors, it's biking, working out, playing beach volleyball.
Yeah, now she's in shape. She
very much in shape.
Mentioned Stephanie as one of the players she looks up to. She could be modern day Stephanie LaGrossa, basically.
I don't like that. Her again, like Jake's pointed out many times, that it might be the producers pushing the story and the angle and trying to find that hook, but her best friend passing away like seems to have a big part in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might mean that you haven't. I don't know, like what the relationship was like, whatever. But if that's the thing that they're pushing, I don't know how far that goes as far as the story. Like does that get you across the line? But yeah, I love
how she sees like male people, like male as like this interesting species that she needs to decipher because she works in this male dominant industry that has taught her how to deal with us men. That was like such an interesting comment that she made. But I mean, listen, I get it to a certain degree because my industry is recruitment technology, and in recruitment, like 80% of people working in recruitment is women. So I deal with women on a daily basis. So have that made me better in my dating life? No. You would think I would learn by working with women every single day. I've learned absolutely nothing. So I don't know if it's going to translate to the game just because she's in a male-dominant industry, Kahuna. But I do think that if the upside to her is if she does well, if she gets a foothold in the game, she'll end up being very good at challenges. It could be like a challenge beast. Like, she is built. Jake, what's your thoughts on her?
I'm happy with that as a last pick.
Yeah, so I like the whole white collar, industry dominated by men. I always like those types of women that, have made their way up in an industry like that. But funny enough, I was thinking the same thing kind of as Kahuna with her friend. It's like she never got the desire to apply until her friend passed away. Her friend, they would always like talk about it, I guess. So it's like, it's just funny because like, oh, you haven't done it until now. So I don't know. That was just a weird.
Listen, some of the best winners we've ever had didn't even know what the show was before they got on.
I mean,
I think sometimes not being a fan of the show is a very good thing. You want to almost be a casual fan. You want to understand what strategy
you don't
is.
want
You want to understand
to
100%. You want to know what the advantages in the game is. But then I think Survivor is kind of like, if you've ever done acting at school, like I used to do a bit of acting, a little bit of that type of stuff. You're either born with it or you're not. Like you either have that or you like instinctively you're either going to be a good player or not. And it's all based on your personality and how you get along with other people. So I do think that could be actually in her advantage, not being a big fan that haven't applied for so many seasons. But in her case, I don't know. I didn't see enough of her personality to really get a grasp of if she actually will get it when she's out there. And if she wouldn't just be another really strong, dominant type of female character, but doesn't get that social politics strategy side of the game. So she was a big question mark for me, but she was fifth. She was ahead of Helen.
You know what I'm really worried about? The vibe that I picked up when you talked about you didn't get enough of her personality. There were times where she was talking and I just got a vibe that she's not trustworthy in talking about her life truthfully. I was like, this girl seems like she's full of crap. And that's just talking about real stuff. If she's actually literally talking to people about being deceitful, then I'm like, oh, I don't know how that's going to go, when I just didn't get a good, like, trustworthy vibe from it. And that's, again, 30 seconds worth of edited clip on TV, on the internet, right? So I don't know. We'll see.
Lachlan's Land here saying that, like Earl had, didn't know anything about Survivor, and he had such a good win. Jay also mentioned Earl. And then Flynn here says Sarah looks kind of like Shawnee. I don't know. I don't know, not for me, but definitely she won't have the same.
Great if she was. Be great if
she was like, it would be the best thing to happen to Survivor US in a very long time if Shawnee was on Survivor US.
Shawnee's great.
Such a great player.
Yeah.
Krista says the winners usually are quiet on social media. That's true because they're fearful of losing the money. So you could maybe you got the winner pick.
I also saw somebody earlier was like, maybe Carson is playing psychological warfare where
with the merch.
He's putting merch out there to make it seem like that he's an early boot, but actually it's a red herring.
That would be something that he would do because he's a NASA engineer. He's a NASA engineer. He would be playing 4D chess with the fans.
He did say that one of the things he did to prepare was read the FBI guide on how to interrogate people, which I thought was great. I remember that. Yeah, that's
all you need is the Boston Rob, rules book. Was it the Rob rules book?
I got that for Christmas a couple years ago. Yeah.
Do you reckon that?
Hence winning the draft 2 years in a row.
Exactly.
Do you reckon it still stands up in the new era of Survivor? Do you think he needs to bring a version 2.0 out? Based on his winners at Wargame.
If I'm being honest, I haven't read it in a long time, so I don't remember everything. But I'm sure there needs to.
Oh no, we lost Jake there for a second. You still there? We may have lost Jake. I'm going to get it.
Hello?
Oh, you're back. You're back. So you were going to say something about not having read it in a long time?
Oh, yeah. I haven't read it. Sorry, I was still talking and it looked like I was still
you cut out. Yeah, you cut out for a second.
Yeah. Haven't read it in a long time, so I don't remember everything in it, but I'm sure that he needs to update it because this new game is a lot different. It's just a different type of player that wins.
Yeah. Flipmasters is saying, aren't they? Marianne was all over social media. I think winners like Erica and Gabler just simply aren't active in general.
That's true.
That's true. Okay. I like how Tony also just had like a social media account for the seasons he played and then removed it as soon as he didn't play the game anymore. He's like, I'm not interested in this game. All right, the last person here on the list is Helen Lee, age 29, product manager. And I will admit the one thing I marked her down the most for was being a product manager because I deal with product managers on a daily basis. And when she said product managers are the ones that come up with the ideas and then other people have to implement it, I was like, yep, exactly. As a manager, I don't need people to bring me more problems. I know about the problems. I need the solutions. And product people sometimes will come and like look at something and be like, "Oh, we need to fix this whole thing when it's not broken." And you guys figure it out, and then
you got an idea as how we can do it.
And I was like, man, if she's like that, it would annoy the hell out of me.
That's how it feels being an engineer sometimes. So I'm an intern, so I can't speak as if I'm like a full time, but kind of on my first day they were like, you know what, we're going to give you this problem and just figure it out. And I was like, what? Like, you're not even getting, and they're like, we'll give you a little bit of guidance, but, just figure it out. Just,
in my role, it's super annoying because, like, Kahuna may relate to this, but it's like, we live and breathe this. I've been in the workforce for probably like 15 years now. I understand that there are problems. I can see the problems. I don't need you to point that out to me. I need you to be useful. And I feel like that's what the thing is with product managers sometimes. They're just not that useful. So if she's that kind of personality out there, then that could annoy people. If she comes up with like, we should do X, Y, and Z, but she doesn't bring anything to the table.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That could be bad for her. But overall, she could also have upside. She could be the Erica of this season, playing that social game behind the scenes.
She did mention Erica in her
and Tina.
bio.
Shout out Tina. So it's good to hear Tina shouted out twice on this podcast. She also liked Sophie for a strategic game. Outside of that, I just didn't really get a great feel for what type of player she's going to be. I feel like if she wins like an Erica fashion. I feel like she's going to be a very under-edited winner, Jake.
She's like the female Bruce for me this season. I just don't get I didn't get a good sense, kind of like you said, of what kind of player they're going to be, or kind of what their personality is going to be like, So also I thought it was funny that in her video she was like, people will just say anything nowadays. They're like, being a product manager is going to help me so much in the game of Survivor. I'm like, man, they'll say anything. People will say I'm a garbage ban and it will help me in the game of Survivor, so.
Yeah,
and it, I actually didn't know what a product manager was.
I would go in there and I'd be like, being a sports fan, someone that watches a lot of rugby games, I understand the strategy of different people being good at different positions. You need backline players to spread the ball wide, run real fast, but you also need those forwards, the people that can go in there and bash it up, get you the ball, get you possession. You should just go in there and like throw them off and just like.
Should I? Yeah, I watch a lot of basketball. So should I go to the Los Angeles Lakers and be like, listen, I watch a lot of basketball, so I understand.
As a basketball fan,
I understand exactly what you need.
Put me on, LeBron.
I know all about buzzer beaters. I understand that the game is truly never over. Like Marianne showed us until the last minute. If you can make the buzzer beater by getting the right person out, you could still win this game. You just need to have a compelling case at the end, right, Kuna?
Well, I feel like that's what sometimes the game of Survivor would be like. And for us who are armchair experts, you sit there and you go, no, I've watched it for 20 years. I've seen every season. I've seen every iteration. I know it's going to happen. But once you get on that beach, it might be like stepping in the NBA where, okay, I know the game of basketball very well, but the sheer physicality.
Listen, I'm a big fan, Kuna.
Yeah, everything's
I'm a big fan of Muhammad Ali. But if I had to go up against Jake Paul, I would get my ass handed to me. Just because I'm a fan doesn't mean I can take him on in boxing, right?
Exactly. So
but the fight would be rigged against you anyway, so that wouldn't matter.
Hey, if he paid me a mil, I might take a couple of hits to the head.
Yeah, if you got enough money, if the price is right. So
if the price is right, I'll throw a fight.
Yeah.
Next recap on the TNT is going to be Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. So
we're gonna have to start. Yeah. No, it's gonna be Chris Swanepoel versus Jake Paul.
Yeah. I would have to go and train again. I would have to get my karate gi back on and actually get in the ring. All right. Well, there we have it. Those are the teams for this season. We've got Team Chaos with Chris right at the top. We've got Kahuna. I don't know what you had, Team Underdog, because you went the other way on most of these ones, Kahuna.
I don't know, man. I think
you could still take it. You could still take it.
I think I'm
anti-Chris.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like Jake has got a really good mix of players as well. I feel like, especially, you did me dirty with a Lauren pick, obviously, and I do like your first pick a lot. Your first pick, I think, if Yam Yam doesn't win it, I think, he could go all the way.
Yeah, I like both of those.
Matthew. That's going to be confusing having a Matt and a Matthew, but I like Matthew. So yeah, I think this is going to be a great season. Master says Jake easily with the most normal team. Yeah, so that's it. I don't know what to put it. It's like,
is that an insult though? Because I kind of wanted to, I wanted to get a good mix.
Team Bland, Team Chicken and Broccoli. It's his that's his team.
I'm definitely most upset about Jam Jam.
All right, listen.
I thought he would go late. I thought he would go later.
By the way, I gave you guys a hint. None of you got the little Easter egg when I created the thumbnail, I put "I'm winning" right above his head. So you guys should have known I was going to go for Yam Yam from the start because I actually put it out there as a little Easter egg for you beforehand, Kuna.
Clues. I'm a rookie in the game. I'm not paying attention to the little things like the clues in the thumbnail. So
That's
I'll remember for next time. That's for sure.
I had to, you know what? I had to come into this season with some additional fire in my belly because Jake won the last one. So I have to come in and get one on him. It's just like, I'm very competitive, Jake. So I was like, I'm just going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
I'm very competitive too. Like, for Winners at War, me and my family did a draft, and me and my girlfriend, it was me and my girlfriend, my mom and my dad, and my sister and her husband, and it was super fun. I had Tony on my team, so we won. So I love this type of stuff. I'm glad that I'm bringing out some fire in you.
No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's and also this draft I feel like was a lot of fun because the Australian Survivor draft that I did, Mucky completely threw it from the start. So it's like how do you just like, and people in the live were saying don't throw it to Chris, don't make it easy on him, and he just kept going down that road, Kuna. Just kept picking all these players. So I was like, this one's obviously I'm gonna win Australian Survivor. So I knew I had to have my A game coming up against the defending champion and Jake for this one. But it's been a lot of fun, and we'll be back, weekly to do the recaps for Survivor 44. So if you do like this content, I know everybody in the live here would already be subscribed, but anybody watching this at a later stage, if you're listening to this on the audio platform, consider jumping on YouTube, look up the Nullified Take, the channel on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel. Hit a like on this, comment on the video afterwards as well, because it does help with the algorithm, even if it's just to say really enjoyed this live. We'll be back in the near future to talk about this season. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Jake, Kahuna, thank you so much for jumping on, and catch you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye.